I'm Shannon.
And I'm Lisa.
And KK's here too. And you're listening to Blacktivities,
a celebration of all things Black.
Black culture, Black history,
Black perspectives, and Black panache.
Celebrating our Blackness doesn't mean exclusion.
Everybody's invited, but you got to come in and have a seat.
So let the Blacktivities begin. Hello, Blacktivities fam. I'm Shannon, and she's Mona Lisa the poet. And KK is back today. Woo! So today we're talking about all this canceling that's happening with our Black men who are celebrities. Funny, but not funny. Maybe ironic is a better word. When I came up with this topic, there wasn't any evidence that Diddy had done anything. And so I wrote his name down as an example, but we know how that played out.
Right. As soon as we were reviewing, like, hey, Diddy, and then we're like, hold on, guess what dropped today? And then we just all went in. I promise we probably should have recorded that conversation we had that day because we were talking about everything for so long, okay? That was hilarious.
Yeah. So cancel culture has become a thing. And I'm not actually sure if it was supposed to be a thing based on some of the research that I did. But once non-Black people got a hold of it, it tends to become something else, kind of gets chopped and screwed.
Uh-huh.
Well, I just want to, before we get started, I want to do a quick trigger warning because this show here on Blacktivities, we cover real topics. And many of them are of real sensitive nature. So if you are easily triggered, we're letting you know now.
Take your ass on.
This is your trigger warning right now.
Right.
What I've seen start to happen with cancel culture is that often there's an accusation, but then there's no evidence. But like as soon as the accusation comes up, then people start to lose jobs and gigs and things like that just because of the accusation. Like they haven't even had any real evidence. There's not been a trial or anything. So I was thinking of some of the people that have been canceled recently. Diddy, obviously, one of them.
Take that.
That has a different meaning.
I had to.
Jonathan Majors, Chris Brown, we had people like Russell Simmons, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. Now, I'm not saying that some of these people don't deserve it. We're just talking in general about canceling Black men today. So if you want to weigh in on these topics, there's some links that I am posting in the show notes that allow you to share your thoughts and to be a part of the Blacktivities. You can also ask your own questions, and if they pique our interest, we'll address them on the show. So let's start out with facts.
Big facts.
In my research, I came across a Washington Post article that provided some background information about where the phrase canceling came from. And a lot of it I really didn't know about. So Nile Rodgers, do y'all know who that is?
He's a songwriter, producer, musician. Yeah.
From the band Chic, right? So I'm sure you know the good times. These are the good times.
And freak out that. Yep.
Yeah.
Little freak. So Chic, girl, I remember when I was little, my mama played that. I'd be in the back of her Cutlass, baby. My mama had a T-top Cutlass. Girl, hey.
And you better not do that dance. You better not do it.
So Chic was popular in the 70s. Nile Rodgers said that he went on a bad date with a girl that tried to basically use his celebrity status to have the restaurant that they were at move somebody else from a table so that they could sit down. And he was mad about that because he said he doesn't really do that. And so he said he was sitting down watching TV later on, and he is really into TV, and it inspired a song called Your Love Is Canceled. But it wasn't a hit. It came out in 1981. Fast forward a little bit to the 90s. There's a movie some of you may know called New Jack City.
New Jack City.
So there's a part in that film where Nino Brown throws champagne on a girl and says, "Cancel that B." Well, the writer, Barry Michael Cooper, was listening to that Nile Rodgers song when he wrote the scene.
Oh.
In 2005, 50 Cent quoted that line in his song Hustler's Ambition. And then Lil Wayne used it in his song, I'm Single. And the article mentions several other uses of the phrase in reality TV. I don't know if you watch Love and Hip Hop, but there's a guy named Cisco, if you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah, I am. Go ahead. Ew. Let me tell you something. First of all, I'm sorry to mess up the facts. But the fact that they was called Creep Squad, these Negroes, now forget, I'm not, these niggas are 40 plus talking about Creep Squad. Baby, no. No. But go ahead.
Anyway, there was a time where Cisco used it. He was talking to his girlfriend at the time, and he said he had just watched New Jack City, so that's where he got it from. Then Black Twitter got involved, which, if you haven't watched that documentary on Hulu,
I am. I haven't watched it yet.
It was incredible.
Yeah, I realized I missed a lot of Black Twitter. So Black Twitter got involved, and that's when most people started using it as a way to basically say, we're not messing with you no more. The article quoted Cooper, and it said, cancellation notices were a way to wield power where we haven't been able to really do it before on a cultural level, Cooper said. Twitter has allowed us to say we're here, we're not going to be discounted, and if you say anything to try to diminish us, we'll cancel you. So in the mid 2010s, people started pointing out things that celebrities said or did that was problematic, like the whole R. Kelly thing and Kanye talking about slavery being a choice. People wanted to see accountability for these celebrities who typically had no consequences. And when George Floyd died, then people started canceling or calling out the institutions that were systemically discriminating. And it's like the dawn of the Karens and the barbecue Beckys of the world.
The who's?
Yeah, the Karens. There actually started to be some consequences for these people. And then when white people basically started losing money and deals, and all of a sudden cancel culture is now the devil. So you'll hear politicians talking about cancel culture in a negative way because it's just evolved so far from where it started. So that's the big facts.
I love that. Thank you. That was a good one. Let me just go on and throw the gasoline on this fire real quick. In 2017, we know that there were quite a few people who voted for the president who preceded Barack Obama. At that time, there was something happening called the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. And the Me Too movement is where women began to say things like, this happened. I'm holding somebody accountable for this. This happened to me too. And as we know, a Black woman started the Me Too movement. White women got credited for that initially until she came out. I want to call her name, but I don't want to mess it up. Tawana Burke, something along those lines. But this sister was the first to talk about the Me Too movement. With that thought in mind, we have women saying, this happened to me, and I want these people to be held accountable. Well, I'm just going to preface this by saying I am a survivor as well. So I do not condone any behavior that impacts women or men or anybody negatively against their will. And with that, I want to say that the reason we're focusing on Black men right now today is because it seems like no matter who does this, it's the Black man's face that becomes the face of something like this. So, for instance, we have somebody who's running for president again, that same individual. And so they're running for president again and very much want to be elected with sexual assault charges and other things against them. Now, with that said, this behavior was not accounted for. So let's talk about documentaries. You mentioned the Twitter one. We have a Freaknik documentary that talks about how Freaknik, what it started from and what it devolved into, which was a lot of sexual assault, mistreatment, misconduct, and those things were never accounted for. Those people were never accounted for in those behaviors, partially because it impacted Black women, but also as a culture and as a whole, we've never really held people accountable for this sort of behavior. We never have. And Me Too is what opened the door for people retroactively saying, this happened to me and I want this person held accountable. So our grandmothers, think about our grandmothers, our aunties, our mothers. They were the ones who were demonized. They said somebody touched them, and then what?
Nothing.
Well, what were you wearing? What were you doing?
Nothing.
You know, they get a bunch of questions. And so the accountability was on the victim and not on the perpetrator. So that's why people say, how did Aaliyah happen? How did these things? Because nobody was being held accountable back then. Marvin Gaye at 30-something years old married a 17-year-old. 17. You know, we don't talk about Chuck Berry.
Right on Elvis Presley. Let's go ahead.
Elvis Presley. Priscilla was 14.
Yeah. Priscilla has her own little documentary and movie and special.
Yeah. She was 14. Mm-hmm.
Which is wild.
Which is wild that Black men have become the face of this. So again, I don't condone it, but I am saying that has happened. But I'm going to let y'all chime in because I want to later on get into the why.
Now, I mean, you hit the nail on the head because that's the exact direction I was going to go into it when on this topic here is, I mean, people have to be held accountable no matter what skin tone you are. Russell Simmons should not be in Bali or wherever the hell he is by himself. There is a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I was laughing when they said that apology video that Diddy posted. They said that it was in the same gazebo as Russell Simmons, which is not funny, but it's just like, I mean, we have to hold, all the other people accountable. Now, yes, we have the Epsteins and the Weinsteins or whatever their name is, that's out there. But the only reason, in my opinion, that they were out there is because a lot of other strong people was about to go down with them. So I feel like that's the only reason why they had a little spotlight on them is because they had the ability and the power and the knowledge to take a lot of other people, very strong, powerful people down with them. And that was not an option. So unfortunately,
but notice how that never happened.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yeah. And what's the woman with
Ghislaine?
What's her name?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Why she so quiet? Like, why she don't have a spotlight? She didn't want to talk or say anything? Has there been any interviews for her? Have y'all seen anything?
I haven't seen any interviews, but we know that she was complicit in all these activities that were happening on that island.
Right.
We know she was a recruiter, but that happens in sex trafficking overall. You have recruiters. There was a lady who was recruited from her church into sex trafficking. Church. Like, it's out there. Church.
Lord.
Church. Yep.
No, Lord.
So.
Bless it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wild. That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, not laughing at the situation, but I'm saying it is so prevalent and it is such a big thing. And, we could go down all sorts of rabbit holes, but all these people missing, I'm sure they're not runaways,
right?
Running away from their lives. Sex trafficking is one of the things that Diddy is being accused of. there's a lot.
But with the accountability, and I say this every time something pops off, back then when Cosby happened, all of this. And when I sat and I watched the R. Kelly documentary, and all of these people had something to say, and I'm like, if you saw it dead on, why didn't you say anything? Like, why didn't you say anything? Like when Young Jock.
Because back then nobody was saying anything
Right.
back then. It was just a thing that you knew happened, but nobody was being held accountable.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
power dynamic for sure.
And like what I was about to say, when Young Jock was quick to get on that interview and talk about Diddy, and when he heard Diddy tell Cassie, "Oh, to be you shaving your head tomorrow," and she was like, "Okay." Like, why didn't you step in? Like, hey, Cassie, blink 2 times if you know what I'm saying, need help. Like, if you deep down knew something was physically wrong, why keep your mouth shut? Like, what is this? So all the people around it need to be held accountable. If you witnessed it, you need to be held accountable too, because you knew it was going on.
I saw that interview with him, and he went back and said the reason he didn't say anything was because he saw the person who Diddy was looking at and was like, the context of it was like, that girl is fine and she got her head half shaved off. You would look good doing that. You should do that tomorrow. He was saying was the energy behind it. So I suspect he told that in a way to gain attention, but I don't know if it was him backtracking, but that was him saying, because I didn't understand that either.
Mhm.
But he was like, the reason I talked about it was because it wasn't a bad thing. She wasn't seemingly under any duress. And as y'all saw, it looked good on her and it became a huge trend. He said, but Diddy first saw it when they were all out and saw this gorgeous woman wearing it. And his thought process was, Cassie, you fine. You would look good in that. So that's what Young Jock was, how he stated it or restated it.
So how about this? Put your feet in Young Jock's shoes right now. Would you say, being that he shared that story and how Cassie was like very compliant to his request, and then later watching the video of him kicking and beating the stank out of her, like deep down when you feel some type of guilt, like, damn, like maybe I did perceive that wrong, or maybe I had some type of thought, you know what I'm saying, and I didn't follow into it a little bit more than I should have.
Definitely.
So I don't know. It's wild. This is a wild, wild world, y'all. Wow.
It is.
It's the wild, wild west. That's why everybody wearing this goddamn boots and shit. That's what it is.
Beyonce's internet world.
No. That's what it is.
Country club. Is cancel culture a bad thing? What do y'all think?
I can't take cancel culture seriously for it to say it's a bad thing, because again, we're picking and choosing who's going to be canceled. And it's weird that we have to sit here and say, hey, we need to fight for our rights of cancel culture. But I mean, we got to start taking it serious. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but we can't pick and choose who we're going to cancel. If we're going to cancel them, they need to be, like you stated before, held accountable. And we need to all be on the same page when it comes to canceling somebody. Your actions
with everybody.
Yeah, everybody. And stop making excuses for people. Like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, like you said, it's not bad to hold people accountable. I think the problem comes in because it's like that whole thing where a few people mess it up for everybody. So the whole thing with the Me Too movement, there's a few people who are making and have made false accusations. And it's like they kind of messed it up for everybody. Now anybody can come and say anything about anybody without any proof, and people have big consequences. But it's a fine line there, because in the past, like KK was saying, people who had legit claims were not heard or believed, and people weren't being held accountable. So it's kind of like a fine line there. Is how I feel about it. What do you think, KK?
I agree with you. I agree 100%. But I also think that there needs to be justice meted out in those situations. So if a person is falsely accused, they should be able to sue the pants off of that other person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like if you're falsely, and I know that there was I don't want to misstate his name, but there was a brother who was falsely accused. He went back and sued his accuser. And that's how it should be. Like there should be laws that are in place for when that happens, because these are serious allegations that impact a person's entire existence. And I think that, the why for me that this is happening in this way, especially in regards to Black men becoming the face of this, is because historically, Black men have been sexualized and fetishized all over. And so here you have, if you think about what Mel Gibson said to his girlfriend and I'm not even sure he got canceled, but Mel Gibson showed his racist ass when he was like, I hope a bunch of wild niggas rape. Well, let me just clarify, because he didn't say niggas. I said niggas. He said niggers. So with the hard R. So he was like, I hope a pack of wild niggers rape you, because she was going out or doing something along those lines. But that's the perception. So if you go back to that movie,
Birth of a Nation,
and that's what you saw. That's the image that was put out there. And that has been the trope of Black men. They're overly sexualized and all of this. And even now in their feminization that we see happening, they're still the face of it. They're the face of feminization. They're the face of over sexualization. They're the face of sexual assault and all of this, because they've been sexualized and fetishized from day one. And this whole kink that we see happening of these cucks, they are having Black men to sleep with their wives, these whole cuckold things, because here Black men are the trope. They're the ones, and that's who they're after, to sleep with their wives, because I think a lot of them also sexualize and fantasize and fetishize Black men. So that doesn't take the onus off of them for what they do. There should be accountability. Again, I'm not condoning anything, but I am saying the why is because of what has followed them forever. And that's why we see them as the face of cancel culture.
I don't even know what to say after that.
You know what sucks is right before we came on, I had fell asleep watching Signs. And Mel Gibson's in that movie.
I actually like that movie.
Yeah. So I was just sitting here like disappointed, like, damn, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? That he did that. And damn, I forgot. Like the when he got pulled over with the DUI and the female cop was like, hey, you're drunk. And he was like, don't worry about it, sugar tits. You know what I mean? Like, like they asked him what he felt about gay people, and he was like, well, what can I say? They just take it up the ass. Like, he has said a lot of things that was like kind of like suspect, and then he came back and was like, I was joking, and then they let him be.
Yep, that part.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They let him be. So yeah. So it's just wild. That is wild.
They don't have the same level of consequence. I think Epstein's suicide was an out. Mm-hmm. You were going to say something, Shannon. My bad.
No, I was just going to say, like, Chris Brown still can't get certain jobs because of what he did as a young person.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's still been able to kind of carry on his career, but
he's an amazing performer. Okay.
And Chris, the thing about it is, I know a lot of people are like, and so I only go back to the Rihanna thing. Like, for me, He went to jail. He went to court. He did his community, all of the things. He did all of the things. And this still follows him. By the way, he's on a very successful tour right now. Very successful tour.
I'm going.
And
I'm going. Get it, baby. Toot that line. Auntie coming.
But his talent is undeniable. And these are things that happen when he and Rihanna were like 18, 19, something like that. And he's 30 plus at this point. And so I'm not saying, again, I'm not condoning, but I am saying that at what point do we say, all right, this person is an unrelenting menace, but this other person, they did their time, they paid their debt to society, and now what? In my opinion. But I have this conversation with a friend who's like, it wasn't just Rihanna. And I'm like, I don't have no receipts. I see pictures of Rihanna. We know what happened with Rihanna. There were receipts, but I haven't seen any receipts for anybody else. So I don't know who these other people were. I could be wrong, but I just don't know who these other people, are we talking about his Karuchi? Are we talking about her? Like, I have no idea because they broke up. He chased her and that behavior was jacked up, like publicly, like stalking her. But again, I don't know that he put his hands on her. I don't know anything else beyond that part. So I'm not going to try to speak knowledge of that. I'm only saying when a person pays their debt to society, at what point are we just letting them keep pay for it over and over? What does that look like? And R. Kelly is doing 30 years plus 50 back to back. I don't know if Diddy's going to get time. But again, these men have become the face of it. And even in his diss song to Quavo, which, by the way, I'm convinced Chris is a battle rapper who also sings. Just so happens because Chris smoldered his ass and ate him.
No leftovers. None.
Nothing.
Where not needed.
So, I mean, he did that, but he also talked about him. Like, you could talk about me saying what I did back in the day, but you did this most recently, Mm-hmm. So again, at what point? And the thing that's not lost on me is everything that's bad or negative, even though other men commit it, our men become the face of it. Jerry Lee Lewis and Chuck Berry allegedly committed the same thing. Jerry Lee Lewis married his 14-year-old first cousin. Yeah, that was his cousin. He married her. It was his third marriage. But Chuck Berry did almost 2 years in jail. They're in the same age range. But Chuck Berry, something similar. He didn't marry his cousin, but with a younger woman, a young girl. He did almost 2 years. So there's a disparity there. It's like the whole crack cocaine versus powder cocaine thing. There's a variance there. And the heavy lift always comes on our side.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think more than less we get okay, so the things that happen, we as a society, we get caught up in their situation. And so what's crazy is their situation is magnified because they are on this, different platform than we are as regular people. So unfortunately, yes, they have to submit to cancel culture. But again, it's our responsibility to make sure we understand that sometimes some of all of this stuff isn't really reality. And then sometimes it is possibly blown out of proportion, some issues. But with the real things that do happen, it is up to us to not support these people and again, hold them accountable for the bullshit that they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So
that's right.
We're not saying that we should not be supporting Chris Brown or anything like that. What KK has said, he has already admitted. He said, I think he was 17, y'all, by the way.
Yeah.
He said that happened when I was a little bitty kid. I have paid my debt to society. I am now a dad. I understand. I haven't heard of him hitting on nobody. Have y'all?
Mm-mm.
No?
I mean, I think like I did a bunch of stupid stuff at that age. So
Woo! Same.
I don't know. I think people can learn and grow,
Yeah.
but it still behooves me that the aforementioned former president can have 94 counts and still
The fact that this man
runner.
was caught saying he gonna grab him by the coochie cat, and people were still like, "Hey, that's my guy," and I'm like, what?
Imagine what would happen if Obama had done any of it.
Exactly. I like how quiet Obama is too, by the way. Don't y'all?
He's staying out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
And you ain't getting no interviews out of him. Like, for what? Oh, and rest in peace to Michelle Obama's mother, who recently
yes,
passed away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Blacktivities podcast want to send our condolences out, to them and theirs. But yeah, we understand. That's where you get somewhere and you just sit down and ain't got nothing to do with us. I already did what I was gonna do, got my little check, boom, I'm out. And that's the same thing I
Yep.
be on.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
claiming his peace.
That's it.
Yep.
Speaking of peace,
Oh, here we go.
it's time for Lisa's pieces.
All right. So this piece is called Cancel Everybody. Y'all ready?
The title.
Normally I don't share the titles. All my pieces have a title. I just kind of go into it. But this one is called Cancel Everybody.
I love it.
Okay. I can sit here and speak softly about how the wind blows and the light whisper of whistling bringing nostalgia, the taste of light honeysuckles and the excitement it brings when the stem exits its home. As much as I want to just share every warm piece of welcoming and loving and feelings, I feel the need to share. Everybody can catch these words. Guilty or not, these words do not discriminate. Your actions speak louder, stimulating the drama that it will build. No excuses accepted, just like my whining is frowned upon. So grow up, king. Cuban links aren't what make you be. Act like the royalty you wear, queen. Let me mind and remind you that you should be the prize because it will assist you with originating the best choices. From there, and with God's guidance, you will not have to worry about isolation because your almighty kingdom will protect you from what and who we cancel. Thank you.
Woo! Yes, ma'am.
And let me say this. Let me say it one more time. I just want to say this one more time. I feel it is the need to share that everybody can catch these words. I will tell you what I need to tell you if you're in the wrong. There.
That's right.
There.
That's right.
All right. Well, ladies, it's time to call the culture. What is your call to action for the culture?
All right. So I would say we have to be a united front. We have to somehow use common sense and our morals that our grannies have taught us to construe our actions. Being a united front will set the tone to any known BS that may be going on. It's too many cases that have come about, and we joke too much when it comes to certain situations. So us shedding our light on everything that's going on is very important. And make sure we talk to our children. I say this every time. Talk to your children and let's guide them correctly. That way we don't have to keep running into this same mess that's happening.
KK?
I like how somebody that hilarious was like, we joke too much.
Yes. Joke too much.
So I just think there's some irony in that.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love it because you are hilarious. Don't ever lose that. Like, my call to the culture is the same thing that I have taught my bonus daughter. And that is whether you are male or female. One of the things we can take away from our history is to never allow yourself to be silenced. We romanticize our grandmothers and great grandmothers and aunts and mothers, but they suffered silently, many, many of them. My call to everyone is to use your voice. When you see something, say something and use your voice to be your own advocate as well as the advocate for those around you. Your voice is powerful. It is necessary, and there is no need to suffer silently, whether it is domestic violence, whether it is sexual misconduct, sexual, whatever it is that impacts you in a negative way as a man or a woman, however it impacts your person, do not remain silent. There are folks who are here to support you, and we will definitely stand beside you every step of the way.
So I think that we've become sort of a shock-based society instead of looking at the facts. People say things and they put things out there with any proof. And people have had their lives pretty much uprooted because of it. So I'm calling the culture to not say anything unless you know the truth. Don't choose a side if all the facts aren't out there. People were so quick to come to Diddy's defense and assume that it was a money grab when Cassie filed her suit. Of course, there are still some people that's what they are out for. But as a Black woman, we usually aren't believed when we have been harmed or mistreated. They tend to blame us for our mistreatment. So
that's right.
Just don't jump to judgment so quickly. I'm also calling the culture to click the plus in Apple Podcast or the subscribe button in YouTube so you can get all the Blacktivities episodes when they drop. And if you're really rocking with us, for real, then we'd love to hear about it in a 5-star rating and review. Until next time.
King and queens keep doing big things. Let's go.